Hello and welcome to Saturday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we're going to be looking at another puzzle by the astrophysicist Calculus. This one has a 98% approval rating over on Logic Masters Germany and only 3 stars out of 5 for difficulty, so it ought to be approachable. And I can tell you it's also got a very interesting rule set indeed to do with these grey and yellow cells. And I'll read the rules out in just a moment. It's called gate key, by the way, which doesn't mean anything to me. I can't see a key in the grid, but maybe someone will explain in due course. I am notoriously bad at seeing pictures in grids, or actually in anything else. Now, before we kick off, do have a look. If you're a patron of the channel, on the 1st of July, which was a couple of days ago, we released this incredible Sudoku Extravaganza by Jovial. 20 puzzles, all themed on a very common Sudoku variant. And I can tell you we've had over 100 correct solutions so far. The comments have been amazing. So Jovial, thank you so much for producing something of such amazing quality. We are most grateful. And of course, everyone who has sent in a correct entry will be eligible for the prize, which is this handmade pillow by Anita Berge, which features a picture, a sort of crocheted wool representation of one of the Sudokus that Jovial's constructed, as well as some CTC paraphernalia on the back of it. So this is good stuff. And if you do think about becoming a patron, it's well worth it. I promise you, it's worth $2 a month just to play a few of Jovial's puzzles, let alone all 20. And if we do reach 5,000 patrons, which we are very close to, there is a Sudoku Murder Mystery Hunt coming your way very soon as well. So it's exciting times. It's also exciting times if you like setting Sudoku, because I think I mentioned the other day I've received a setting video from Shy, and I've also received a setting video from Glipperal, where Glipperal goes through how he constructed airlocks, which was an incredible pentominous puzzle that we featured on the channel fairly recently. So yeah, it's exciting. It really is. And those videos will be coming your way very soon. Now, with all that said, let's get to the rules of Calculus' puzzle, and I'll read them to you. We have got normal Sudoku rules apply. Digits along a purple renban line must be a set of consecutive non-repeating digits in any order. So what that means is, if you look at these cells here, let's imagine we made this square an 8. Then these two squares would either have to be a 7 and a 9, or a 7 and a 6, because we need to make sure that the line itself is A, contains consecutive digits, and B, has no repeats. So obviously we could see there would be no repeats on this line because it doesn't cross out of box 1. Now they can also be in any order. So what we don't have to do is make sure they ascend. These don't work like thermometers. So we could do, in fact, putting the 8 in the middle has scuppered that a bit, but you see what I mean. We could have something like that. That would be absolutely fine. And that's how renban works. Now, the yellow and the grey cells are really cool. Minimum and maximum cells must be greater than or less than their orthogonally adjacent neighbours, as indicated by the symbols bordering the cell. So that means if you look at a yellow cell, look, it's got a sort of arrows pointing inwards, so it has to be smaller than all 4 of its orthogonal neighbours. Now grey cells have their sort of greater than or less than sign pointing outwards, so this cell has to be greater than its orthogonal neighbours. And that means this square, for example, has to be, oh no, okay. I was about to explain to you in great detail how I don't understand the constraint at all, because I was about to say that means this couldn't be a 4, because of course there are 4 orthogonal neighbours here, so I was thinking if they were 1, 2, 3 and 4, this can't be a 4, but of course that is absolute bobbins. And the reason it's bobbins is that actually this square is not restricted by whatever you put in those 3 squares. So these squares could absolutely be 1, 2 and 3, that could absolutely be a 4, and then this square could be a 1, 2, 3 again, and that would be fine. So yeah, don't listen to me, what do I know? Anyway, do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And in fact, probably I'm going to start on this cell to make sure I figure out what it means. So this square is greater than, well, it can be a 4, that's the point. So it's actually got a prodigious number of options. Because the minimum I can make those squares is 1, 2 and 3, this square could actually be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9. And that is good levels of pencil marking, which I am going to copy. I think I'm going to copy it because I don't feel like I've got a very good handle on how this works. Like, to me, and this might be balmy, this feels like a sort of virtual thermometer situation where this is the bulb, because you can see this square has to be greater than this one because of this arrow, but this one also has to be greater than this one because of this yellow one. So that's like a virtual thermometer with this as a bulb, the bulb end. But you can't see it, and I don't really have a good way of pencil marking it. So this square also has the same property. In fact, the other thing I'm just seeing here is that there is an awful lot of symmetry in this puzzle. In fact, that's a weird thing. There is an awful lot of symmetry. Wow. Yes, wow. Wow. This puzzle, in fact, it's very similar to the one I did yesterday, isn't it? By Spartacus, which has an amazing amount of symmetry. But this puzzle has similar symmetry. These renban lines are very symmetrically given, look. The only things that aren't symmetrical are these renban lines, that one and that one. If you look at everything else in the grid, and you imagine that the grid was rotated 180 degrees around itself, you would get the same puzzle. Or you could certainly get an isomorph of the same puzzle, because all that would happen is that this yellow would switch to here and become a grey. This yellow would switch to here and become a grey. So the puzzle would just be flipped on its head, basically, and it would be the same puzzle, albeit. But these things are going to have to be the things that differentiate and affect and give the puzzle a unique solution. Now, all of this is just me blathering because I haven't got a clue what to do. So let me think about this. This square has to be lower than its orthogonal neighbours. So it's got 4 orthogonal neighbours all in the same box of the Sudoku. So the maximum, I've got to do it the other way around. The maximum they could be would be 6, 7, 8, 9. Now that means this square has to be a maximum of 5. Okay. Now that might interact with these. So if we go if we go 1 here, this would have to be a 4, 5 pair, because we can't repeat a digit on a renban line, and these can't be further. The way to think about it is that if this is 1, this renban line is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so these have to be the 4 and the 5, that has to be the 2 and the 3. Now, is there anything wrong with that? The answer is not immediately. I can't see anything wrong with that. There could be something wrong with it. So I was then thinking I'll move my attention to this square and have a look at this renban line. But this renban line is actually incredibly useless, which probably means it's the key to the whole puzzle, because when I say things are completely useless, I'm then promptly proved wrong. But the reason I think this is useless is that this yellow square here is only really impacted by those 2 squares, and so this has to be lower than these 2 squares. So basically, the maximum we could make those 2 squares would be an 8, 9 pair, which means this has to be 7 or lower, which is not a big restriction. And similarly, therefore, that, which has to be higher than its orthogonal neighbours. If you make those as low as possible, this has to be 3 or higher. So that these two squares have 7 options, even though they have the quality that they have this greater than or less than effect going on in them. I tell you, the puzzle is giving me deja vu, not for yesterday's puzzle, but from a puzzle I actually failed. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. I think I am. I did mention it in a podcast recently as well. So, one of the most common questions we get asked is, which puzzles did you fail to solve having started the camera? And there is a puzzle by Fistemafel that I'm sorry to say, I did muff up when I tried to solve it for a video. It's called Calculus Sudoku. And I spent about 40 minutes getting myself in a right muddle because I couldn't pencil mark the grid properly. And then I turned off the camera, and I did finish it in the end afterwards, but it was a lot of trial and error, and I never found a good way of pencil marking that puzzle. And I'm getting a horrible feeling about this one because there's so many interactions between these funny yellow. This is only 3 stars out of 5 difficulty though. It must be doable. It must be doable. Come on. Pull yourself together, man. How do you do the puzzle? So if this is symmetrical, this logic, well, such as it is, it's not really even logic, but these pencil marks must just be mirrored down here. But the other way round. So these squares, yeah, if we make these as large as we can, let's make those 7, 8 and 9. This has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. This has to therefore be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. This has to be greater than its orthogonal neighbours. So if we make those 1, 2, 3 and 4, this has to be at least 5. Yeah, so you can see that this is working exactly analogous to how it's working up there. So, am I meant to use this renban line somehow? Ah, yeah, got it. Right, I've got a little break in here. That is, this square cannot be 5 and may not be able to be 6 either, and no, it can't be 6 either. This is really gorgeous. Right, this cannot be 5. Let's talk about 5 first. The reason it can't be 5 is look what happens to those two squares to start with. Well, obviously these two squares have to therefore be 1, 2, 3 or 4. But the point is, these two squares on the renban line also have to be 1, 2, 3 or 4. Now, what does that mean this renban line is made up of? Well, it has to be consecutive digits, and it can't hit 5, so it must be low digits. And now there are too many low digits in the box. There are 6 digits that have to be selected from just 4 numbers. And this is why I don't think 6 will work either. Because if we go up to 6, I can add 1 degree of freedom to all of those squares, and it's still broken. I've got to select 6 cells. I've got to put 6 cells, selecting from just 5 different digits. I will have to repeat a digit. So this square is not, it's not 5 or 6. I will check what that does up there. I think it must be the same, which means up there it can't be 4 or 5. But let me just think about this now. This is doing remarkably little to these two squares, is it? Oh no, that's nonsense. That's nonsense. These can't be 1 or 2 now. This is lovely. Right. Once you eliminate 5 or 6 from here, if we think about what's the lowest renban line we can now create on this renban line, well, let's use 7 as the top digit. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3 is the absolute lowest we could go down to, so we can get rid of 1 and 2 from this renban line. And the effect of that look is interesting as well. This is very cool, because now I'm looking at all of these squares and I'm asking what they can be. Because a minute ago, they could have been 2s. because these could have been 1s. Now they can't be 2s, they have to be at least 4s. Which means these squares have to be at least 5s, I think. I think that's true. The other thing I'm wondering about is whether I'm now meant to know something a bit more definite about this renban line. If this is definitely quite a high digit, if this is definitely quite a high digit, do I know anything about this line? So if this is 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, these would be 5, 6, these would be 9, 7, 8. That's the maximum I can force these cells to be, obviously. If these were 9, 7, 8, these squares would have to be selected from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And they have to be consecutive. So these digits have got to have 3 and 4 on them, I think. And if that feels like it must be true. So these have got 3 or 4 on them. And these digits as well. Maybe I've got to pencil mark these in. And maybe these two as well. I'm far from sure about the best way to do this. Right, but let's do it. Let's go the whole hog. Mark will be proud of me because I'm going to go. These digits can be as high as 8. 8, 7, 6. Oh, this is horrible. 5. It can't be 4 because that's going to clash with what I think has to go on this renban line. So 8, 7, 6, or 5 into those squares. Okay, that doesn't seem to have put any pressure on these digits, does it? It's still absolutely fine for these to be 6. It's absolutely fine for them to be 3. Now these squares are interesting, I think, because these used to be able to be low, but now have to be higher than 3. So these are 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. Oh dear. Now, they can't be 9, because these 3 squares all have to be greater than these squares. So these squares are now 5, 6, 7s, 8s, and 9s. Okay, now what do we do? Now presumably we invert the logic and do the same thing up here, and at least that will operate as a way of checking that what we've done is correct, even if it will play with my head, because I'll have to just sort of do what I've just done over again. Now, where did we start with this? Where we started was we limited this cell. Now, why did I manage to limit this cell? I can't remember. I think I remember. If this is... how did I limit this cell? I've got no recollection of it. How did we do that? Was it because... Oh, well, yes, I know why it was. It was thinking about whether... if this is 5 or 4, it was thinking about what it does to these squares, wasn't it? And the renban line, yes. Okay, if this is 5... these 4 squares have to be higher than 5, but so would the renban line equivalents. That won't work. So we can remove 4 and 5 from here, and that means this is 1, 2, or 3. Once this becomes 1, 2, and or 3, you can remove 8 and 9 from these squares. This is just gorgeous. It's so clever. I cannot tell you. Now what do we do? Now we know the minimum value of those squares is 1, 2, and 3. We know these have to be a consecutive sequence of relatively high digits, therefore the minimum we could put on this would be a 4. And whether we go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or whether we go 4, 5, 6, 7, or go 9, 8, 6, 7, there's always a 6 and a 7 on this line. Which, I'm not sure what that means. Now, then the question is, by limiting these squares and not allowing 8 and 9 to live in them, have we done any magic as a result of that? I don't know. I'm sort of getting myself confused now. Sorry. So these squares have to be greater. Yeah, I see. It has affected them just mildly. Because now these squares, this square has a maximum value of 7 rather than 8 or 9. And that means these squares have to be 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. Again, they can't be 1 because these squares then need to be lower again than whatever we put in those squares. And I'd better continue with that. Those two are the same, of course. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These squares, therefore, have to be 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. Now, can we do anything with these? These squares as well are restricted now. So this is... this can't be 6 because of the 6 needing to be on the renban line. So these have to be 5, 4, 3 or 2. And this feels very, very like girth symmetrical placement, doesn't it? Because everything is adding to 10 across the grid. You know, the sort of the pencil marks even are adding to 10. If you add those pencil marks together, I think you just get 40, but I might be wrong, but I think you do. You get a 2 and an 8, a 3 and a 7, a 4 and a 6, and a 5 and a 5. So that this is, again, suggesting this grid is very rotationally symmetric, with these two renban lines going to be the key to the differentiation. Now hang on, I've got this. Right, let's look at this. This renban line now, which we can remove. This can't be 9 because this has to be a low digit. Right, hang on. This... oh, it can be 7. Okay, this could be as high as 7, but it cannot be 8 or 9 because it could then never reach the highest digit that's possible in the yellow cell. So this is not 8 or 9, and this... the corollary of that is, of course, this is not 1 and 2. So, yeah, we can just do the logic both ways round, which is a classic way of thinking about girth. So now this could be as high as... if this is 7, this would have to go 6, 5. If this is 6, you could go 7, 5. Oh, okay. All right. There's... now, but... we've got rid of 5. We've got, what did we get rid of in this square? 8 and 9. That's affecting these two squares, look. So it's bouncing backwards and forwards out of the boxes. As you sort of limit part of this pattern, it bounces backwards and forwards. Now these squares, look, can't be 8 anymore, and they can't be 7 anymore because they have to be lower than this digit. Let's repeat the logic here. So these two now can't be 2 or 3 because this can no longer be 1. Now if these can't be 2 or 3, that puts pressure on these presumably, which can no longer be 4. Although they can perhaps be 5. Yeah, they can be 5 because these can be 4. But now if these can only be 5, this one can't be 6 or 5. No, that's wrong. It can be 5 because... oh, hang on. I'm going crazy. How come that... oh, no, this doesn't affect this because these aren't affected. I am going mad. I'm going absolutely doolally. So, these are unaffected because I can't reduce these. But this one has affected those two squares. So these two squares are the ones that are affecting everything. This has become 5, 6, 7. So those, no, that's not done anything. Has it done something I just don't understand? We limited these. We limited that one as a result. We got rid of a 4 from these squares. Why does it matter that I've got rid of a 4 from these squares? What has it affected? I don't know. I really don't. I'm very sorry. I'm so sorry, because I'm sure many of you are getting cross with me about that, but I'm not understanding quite what that means. But presumably I can repeat the logic down here, he says, looking for a get out and something to do. So this is now 5, 6, 7, so it's not 8 or 9. So these become 4, 6, 7. So these can no longer be 6. That's the identical logic to up there, where we got rid of 4. Now the fact that these can't be 6 anymore, sorry, I'm just not understanding what effect this is having. Because these still have the absolute ability to be any of those digits. 5, 4, 3 is still possible. So what am I not understanding? Oh dear. If you'll allow me. Bobbins, 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 bobbins. Let's come back up here and think about this again. Maybe I can use this line. Is that the point? No, I've already thought about this line. I've already thought about it, because once you limit this to 1, 2 or 3, you've got to have 6, 7 on the line. And that allowed me to do something, but I can't remember what it was. What's this renban line got on it then now? If this is 1, it's 2, 3, 4, 5. No, that doesn't work. Because that would have to put 5 in both of those squares. Aha! Aha! Right. That doesn't work. This can't be 1. Oh, I see. This is the whole point. Oh my goodness me. I did not understand this at all. I've just had a revelation and a moment of epiphany. This cannot be... This is the point. This is why 4 being removed from both of these squares is so important. Once 4 comes out of these pencil marks, this is no longer able to be 1. And the reason is that if this is 1, we know that this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 renban, and the only digits that could go here, well, when 4 and 5 could go here, this could be 2 and 3. Happy days, the renban line works. Once you lock 4 out of there, you can't now make this one, because I can't put double 5 on the same renban line. So this is 2 or 3. And that must work the same way down here. So here we got rid of 6 here. I think we got rid of 6 there. I can't actually remember what we got rid of there. I think it was 6. If I got rid of 4s from those, I see, and it's the same. Yes, it's the same, because if you put 9 here, the point is that you now need to have... You need a 5 on the renban line, but you need 6, 7 and 8 as well, and those can only both be 5, so it's broken. Wow. So now, what's the implication of this? We've got rid of a digit. We've got rid of the low digit. We got rid of the low digit here, we got rid of the high digit here. So this renban line now cannot have a 1 on it anymore. So it's either, if this is 2, the renban line is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, it's got a 6 on it. It's got a 6 on it, so one of those is 6. Those is 6. So this can't be 5. Oh, good grief. Right. Wow. Wow. This is about as clever a thing as I have ever seen in a Sudoku, if this is right. This is absurdly clever. Right. I think what is going on here, and I might be wrong, I'm going to do it again. In fact, I might do it again down here just to check that I'm thinking clearly about this. So I'm going to try and do the same thing I've just thought about up here and do it down here and explain it. So let me try. Whether this is 8 or 7, we can say something definitive about this renban line, I think. If this is 8, the renban line must have a 4 on it, because 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. If this is 7, because this renban line can't have a 9 on it, it still has to have a 4 on it. So there is always a 4 on this renban line. Now that 4, we know, is not in those 3 squares. So the 4 is either here or here. And the I don't know what happened there, but I want to put a 4 in those 2 squares. There's definitely a 4 in one of those 2 squares. And the corollary of this, the logic just inverted, or deducting or adding 10 to all of the digits, is that there must be a 6 in one of those 2 squares. Now, let's look at the 4 first and think about what it means for this square. Is it possible that this is 5? The answer is no, because whichever one of these is 4, we know the intermediate square will be at least 5, and this square has to be at least 6. It has to be at least 6, so it cannot be 5. Now the same logic works here. As these are now 6, the maximum value of those squares, well, we don't know these are 6, we know one of them is 6. Whichever one is 6, this square will have to be a 5 at maximum. And therefore this square will have to be a 4 at maximum. So we can get rid of the 5 from this one as well. And now this renban line is fixed. We've done the puzzle. Well, not the puzzle, but we've got a digit. After 33 minutes, I've got a digit. And this is, well, somebody, in fact, yesterday wrote a comment on a Spartacus's puzzle that was something like, the more brilliant the puzzle is, or the more symmetrical the puzzle is, there's a law, Andrew's law, I think it was Andrew who wrote the comment, was that the more symmetrical or the more brilliant the puzzle, the more likely there is a 5 in the middle cell. And there is a 5 in the middle cell here, because let's think about how this renban line now works. Is it possible this is a 7? Let's try and get the 7 to meet a digit that's possible here. 7, 6, 5 would be the best. This is not 7, so this is 6. Now what's within the required distance? That's got to be 4, that's got to be 5. And there we go, 4, 5, 6. We have 3 digits for the price of 1. That is just, I mean, it's ridiculous is what it is. Now these are 5 and 6. Now that must push these up. Yeah, we can now get rid of 5 from those squares. So now, is that putting pressure on this? Yes, it certainly is, because what can the yellow square be now? If that's a 7-6 combination, and we know we're heading down towards a low digit, we can go 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. This cannot be a 2 anymore, so that's a 3. These 2 squares are now a 4, 5 pair. The renban line now, the renban line is perfect because it has to be 4 consecutive digits that cannot include 3, 4 or 5. That's 6, 7, 8 and 9. And these two squares must be a 1-2 pair, I think. Now these squares are greater than... Oh, that doesn't... Oh, this is so strange. Yeah, this is not doing anything to these dominoes here. Because, well, this just has free... This has... Well, it has almost free reign. It can't be 5. We can eliminate 5 by Sudoku from those squares. But I don't think that's affecting anything. So let's just repeat the logic. We're going to find this is a 7, aren't we? So these no longer can be 6, which means these can't be 5 anymore. This is a 3-4 pair. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is possible here, but 8 isn't. These squares have got to be a 5, 6 pair. These squares have got to be a consecutive sequence of 4 digits that doesn't include 5, 6, 7. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. These have got to be an 8, 9 pair. These can't be 5. And we pause for breath. And note that everything around this diagonal so far, 6 plus 4 is 10, 3 plus 7 is 10, everything is adding to 10. So, what does this mean? I'm going to have to use these renban lines soon because they must be relevant somehow to breaking the symmetry. And ensuring the puzzle doesn't have 2 solutions. So, how do we do this? Not sure is the answer. I don't feel like I'm... This has got to be higher than 3 or 4. That's fine, that's fine. 6 has got to be higher than that digit, which is higher than that digit. Middle box is where we should look now, because look at this. This is like a thermometer, with this being the bulb, because this square has got to be greater than this. Yeah, okay, I see what's happening. So if this is lower than 6, and it is, this is lower than 6, and it is, and that must be lower than 6, because this digit is lower than this digit. All those 3 cells are lower than 6, but they can't be 4 or 5. So they're 1, 2, or 3. These are 7, 8, or 9. These are in a thermometer relationship, and that one is as well, but it's not relevant, because it's surrounded by yellows, and the yellows are all definitely going to be less than 7, 8, or 9. But this is like a short stubby thermometer, isn't it? With this being the bulb. So this can't be 9, and that can't be 7. This is a hugely high digit, which is not really putting any pressure on those squares. Wow, we've now got a 1, 2, 3 on the renban line. And look at this square. Look at this square. 4 or 5. So, what we cannot do now is put 4 and 5 on this renban line, because if we do that, this square has no value. How do you not put a 4-5 pair on this renban line if this is a low digit? Well, the only way I think is if this is a 1, 2, 3, 4 renban line, because if this is anything else, if this was a 2, 3, 4, 5 renban line, you'd put 4 and 5 there and break this square. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4 on the renban line is in that triple, so that's become a 5. That's become a 6. That's become a 5. Just Sudoku. That's become a 4 by Sudoku, looking upwards. That's become a 3. 6 comes out of those 2 squares. 4 comes out of this square by this 4. So this is now 7 or 8. So this has to be higher than that. So this is now 8 or 9. This 7 sees this square. This is 8. This is 9. Good grief. That's 9. This 8 sees this square. That's 7. I'm going wrong. That's a 7. That's an 8. That's a 9. And now we probably, let me just stare at this for a second and see if I can see anything else. 1s, 2s, 3s and 4s. That can't be 4 because we know one of these is a 4. That can't be 4 because this is a 4. That can't be 3 because we've got a 3 here. What else? Anything? Possibly, but I'm not seeing it. This 5-7 pair, I can eliminate 7s from both of those squares. 5 from this square, 9 from this square. This is 6 or 8. 7 here sees that square, that's a 6. So that's got to be greater than that. Which, if this can't be 5, this can't be 5 either. And if this can't be 4 because this can't be high enough. So this is down to 1, 2 or 3. That's a 1, 2, 3 triple. Is that right? That felt a bit untidy the way I did that. I think it was correct. 6 goes from here. So if this is 4, this can't be 4. Yeah, okay. So this is 1, 2, 3. There's a 1, 2, 3 triple. That's become a 4. 4 leaves these. 4 must go here by Sudoku. 5 goes here by Sudoku. 6 goes here. 7 goes here. 4 goes here because it can't be 5 anymore. These squares now can't be 4 or 3 because of the 3 there. This square has to be a 2 because it sees a 6. This square becomes a 1. And that's, look, if you look at the disposition of the digits I've got in this puzzle, ignore that one for a second because I've just noticed that that one is asymmetrical. But those digits, it's not quite perfect. I should be able to get this. I can get that digit. Right, now it's good. I've got sort of a 9 there. I've got a B there or a 6, and I haven't quite got symmetry going on in the central box. But I bet you I can get it if I was better at Sudoku. That can't be a 1. So there's a 1 in one of these. That means this isn't a 1. That's not a 2. Oh, look, yeah, here you go. This has got to be greater than this digit. So this can't possibly be a 1. That's a 3. That's a 2. That's a 1. This is a 1-3 pair. That's a 2. 4 here is nice. That means I've got a 4 there by Sudoku. Those squares have got to be 1, 2 and 5. 5 can't go in those squares. 5 is on the top renban line. Which nearly, I was looking at 4 there, but I think 4 can escape to this square. So this renban line, about 6. Can we force 6 onto it? Maybe, maybe not. Not sure. 6 here is giving me an 8 down there. That means this square is a 6 because it can't be a 4. If I pencil marked more fully, I would have known that. There's a 1, 3 there, so this is a 2. This is not a 2. This means this is a 2. This is a 1. And 2, look, has to go in the corner. That's a 1. 1 must be in one of those 2 squares. And what I reckon we're going to find is that this down here will be an 8 in the finished grid. But I won't assume it. 2, 3 and 5. Look, there's only one place for a 2 in row 4. This is a 3, 5 pair. There's a 3 here. So that's a 3. That's a 5. 3 lives in one of those 2 squares. Don't know which one. And probably I need to focus on some of these greater than or less than arrows in order to work out quite what's going on. Got one there, look. This cell's got to be greater than 4, but can't be 5, 6 or 8. So that's got to be a 7 or a 9, I think. So this column actually needs 7s, 8s and 9s, I've just noticed. There's definitely an 8 in one of those squares. That's not helpful. Come on, Simon. We need 5, 7s and 8s along here. That's a naked single. That's a 7. Sorry, I got interrupted there as I was just extolling the virtues of naked singles, and there was wailing and gnashing of teeth coming from downstairs. So I'm back. Now, what were we doing? Oh yes, I was talking about the naked single. So what do we need to finish this row off? We need 8s and something. 8s and 5s. 5, we can do it. That's a 5. That's an 8. These two squares therefore have got to be 4 and 9, which we can do. We can put the 4 and the 9 in. Those two squares are 1 and 6. We can 6, 8, 9 there. We can get a 7. We can get rid of 7s from these squares. And 7 from this square. And 4 from this square. There's a 3 here. The 4s. How many 4s have we got in the grid? The answer is many. All of them, apart from that one, which is on the renban line. So that square's either got to be low or high relative to 4 and 5. So this is 3 or 6. 1, 3, 6. Triple in column 3. So we need 7s, 8s and 9s into those squares, which we cannot resolve, perhaps, although there's a 6 there. Yeah, here we go. Look, that's an 8 or a 9. This row now needs a 7, which has to be exactly there. That gives an 8, 9 pair in the box, which means this square should be 3 or 6, which of course is not resolvable. It's really not. Okay, where do we look now? We've got to put 1s, 2s and 3s in column 6. There's a 2 there, so the 2 must live at the bottom. This square's got to be a 7 or a 9 to complete box 8. 2s are now very... I've got all the 2s apart from this one, which has to go here. Whenever you've got 4 2s looking at a particular box, or 4 numbers looking at a box of a Sudoku, you can always fill in that digit in that box. That's a 3. That gives me the 3 and the 1. The 1 and the 6. That gives me a 3 on that renban line. This is now a 6. So that's not a 6, and that's rather beautiful because that gives me a 7 here, which finishes my 7, 9, gives me an 8 at the top, look. That's a 6 actually, that's an 8, 9 pair that's suddenly emerged out of nowhere. This 9 is giving me 9, this is giving me 8, this is giving me 8, this is giving me 9, 8 and 9 over here. That square should be gettable. I was about to write an 8 into it, don't do that, that doesn't look right. A 3 perhaps. I need a 1 in one of those two squares. 1 and 9. Yeah, okay. 9, 1. 1, 3. 1 here by Sudoku. This column needs 6s and 7s, so that should be a 7, that should be a 6. And this box needs 5, 8 and 9. So we can put the 9 here, the 5 here, the 8 here, click, tick. Yeah, that is one of the great Sudoku puzzles. It's just extraordinary. It really is. So let's just try and remember how this worked a little bit. And I'm not going to do a very good job, but effectively these renban lines here are more restricted than you first realise. And then you can sort of bounce back and forward between them using the logic. And then in the end, just magically, it results in this digit and this digit being forced not to be 5s, and therefore to connect them, there is only one way to do it. It is a staggering puzzle, One of the great Sudokus, and if we ever make another Sudoku book, Grockles, I am going to be writing to you to ask if we can include this in it. That is just mesmerising, simply mesmerising setting. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching me struggle through it. There were some ideas in that I definitely didn't feel comfortable with, but I think I got there in the end. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.